On this episode of the Turnbuckle, Powerhouse Hobbs wins the TNT Championship on Dynamite. We get backstage update on Brian Cage's AEW contract status. And Alvarez and Meltzer say that AEW needs to sell their stories harder. Folks, reading your favorite wrestling movies and wrestling news because it's time for the Turnbuckle. Powerhouse Hobbs is the new TNT champion. Hobbs defeated Wardlow to win the title for the first time on Wednesday in a Falls Count Anywhere last man standing match. The finish of the match had Wardlow going for a powerbomb by the announcer's desk when QT Marshall attacked him from behind with a steel chair. Marshall continued to attack him with the chair and helped Hobbs get up on his feet. Together, they powerbombed Wardlow off the stage and onto a nearby platform. After Wardlow failed to answer the 10 count, Hobbs was awarded the win. Hobbs is a new champion. Right. I want to be more happy about this, but I'm not. And it's just the way that he won. Where did QT come from, man? Of all the people, he is the Dolph Ziggler of AEW, man. He just keeps showing up. He's one of the, listen, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he's an absolutely fantastic person, and he actually is really good in the ring, and he's also incredibly reliable, and I would assume that he's actually pretty safe. I have nothing against QT Marshall, the person. I am more so just a bit bummed out that Powerhouse Hobbs got his win off the back of somebody else, and he didn't necessarily win it, fair and square, I guess, because QT helped him, and I don't know, man. Just this whole overall storyline is just really weird because now, okay, so two avenues. The one avenue is that it is now QT Marshall and Powerhouse Hobbs, and they are now together, and now Wardlow will go after Hobbs again, and then we'll lose because it wouldn't make sense to hot potato the championship. Or Hobbs becomes champion, goes off and does his thing with someone else, and then Wardlow, just to keep Wardlow afloat, he feuds with QT Marshall. Honestly, we're just gonna have to wait and see how both of these storylines turn out, or if this ends up, merging into one whole storyline. So I don't actually know what's gonna happen. I just don't want the both of them, because they both do not deserve to be in lackluster storylines, man. They really don't. So here's hoping that, we both see them, in a more prominent storylines, besides these two in the future. Next, we're going to talk about a backstage update on Brian Cage's AEW contract status and how there's reported interest from WWE. According to Fightful Select, Cage's AEW contract was originally set to be up sometime between late January and mid-February, but due to his time missed recovering from injury at the beginning of his run, Tony Khan was looking to keep Cage in the fold until the end of June at the very least. However, despite a contract extension currently on the table comparable to his current terms and influential backstage voices like Chris Jericho advocating for him, Cage is said to be showing some hesitation to re-up. WWE has reportedly shown interest in and are willing to engage in talks with the former FTW champion should he become a free agent. And while Cage may be leaning toward exploring all of his options before agreeing to a fresh deal anywhere, he has reached an agreement with Khan to keep working together through Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor pay-per-view at the end of March. It's expected he and the rest of his Embassy comrades will defend the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Championships there, titles they will likely not hold on to if Cage is showing signs of heading out the door. I think if any promotion is going to scoop him up, it definitely needs to be WWE, or just a promotion that sees the potential in him and has the ability and the resources to utilize him to his fullest potential and actually turn him into a main event star. He already is one, right? That's not the issue. Brian Cage has main event written all over him, honestly, but I think it's just the fact that AEW really dropped the ball with him. They missed the mark, and I feel like WWE, not even WWE to be honest, but honestly, if he left it up to me, I would send him over to WWE just because I feel like they would be the first company to honestly strap a huge rocket to the back of him, and he would just go straight, to the stratosphere and everything. So when it comes to AEW, he really did not do a whole lot, and I think that WWE definitely is the type of company to scoop him up, make up for all the lost time, and really show everybody that Brian Cage is the main event star that he definitely deserves to be. Finally, we're going to talk about AEW and how they need to sell their stories harder, according to Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer discussed AEW needing to sell their stories harder on Wrestling Observer Radio. Thursday morning show had Meltzer and Brian Alvarez discuss Bryan Danielson's promo from Wednesday, where he talked about going home after losing at Revolution to MJF. Meltzer didn't like how the announcers quickly moved on from that segment to the next one. If the announcers move on, we move on, Meltzer said. If they don't treat it like a big deal, then why should we treat it like a big deal? Meltzer wondered why if announcers weren't treating it like a big deal, why even do an angle like that in the first place? However, he also said that the notion that AEW doesn't tell any stories isn't true. If anything, they tell too many stories, he said. The reason people say that is because they don't emphasize the stories. WWE, to their credit, emphasizes the big stories. Meltzer also said that MJF and Danielson had one of the best matches in company history, but the show did not emphasize that enough. Meltzer talked about how WWE usually posts montages of outlets talking about their big stories. Somebody must have said it was a great match other than us, he said. I would argue that that's probably like the main issue with AEW right now. I almost said WWE. I don't think the issue is their storylines. I think that they can come up with a lot of decent storylines. The issue is that a lot of their storylines that they're currently enveloped in right now are not as interesting. I think what Tony Khan needs to do is he needs to really like hammer in the emphasis of the storyline. Like no matter what type of emphasis it has, I think Tony Khan needs to work on trying to basically like show everybody, hey, this is what this storyline is about. I don't know. I'm not a booker. I wouldn't really know, to be totally honest with you. I just think that there's a lot of storylines in AEW right now that leave a lot to be desired, and there's like maybe one or two that are actually compelling. And even then, the fact that there's only two and we've got like six more that are kind of like we're kind of leaning on, but even then, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, man, I think that is something that AEW needs to work on, and maybe they just need to take a couple pages out of WWE's book, but that's just me. What do we talk about? Hobbs won the TNT Championship. That's good. That's what we won. How he won is kind of lackluster, but again, that is just me. I think that Hobbs should have won fair and square, even if it was a 10 count. I think Hobbs being able to wear down Wardlow and smack him up and keeping him down for the 10 count would have made Hobbs look a little bit more like impactful. It would have made Hobbs' win more meaningful, and QT coming out and just sort of like not stealing the win, but just sort of making it a for show right on. It's just, I don't know, it's just really lame. Cage definitely he should have been a lot more in AEW, and he wasn't, and that was just down to circumstances, and he was injured, and just a whole lot of other horrible timed events and everything like that. And I think that if he's going to go anywhere, he really should go to WWE, because I feel like WWE is going to treat him right, and they're really going to put him in a lot of storylines, especially with what I was just talking about, how WWE has more prominent storylines. So I think at the end of the day, even if, because he probably won't, but if he does go to WWE, I feel as though that Brian Cage will definitely we're gonna be seeing a lot more of Brian Cage if he does end up going somewhere that's actually gonna like utilize his overall like ability and stuff like that. So we're just gonna have to wait to see where he goes. Meltzer and Alvarez say that AEW needs to tell their stories better. They do. They need to sell. If you're going to have a lot of these storylines happen all at one time, I think you need, like I said, you need to convey to the audience what storyline they need to be focusing on just a little bit more than the other one. But yeah, man, I think that AEW definitely needs to have more compelling storylines, and you know what? Maybe you're an AEW fan and you don't think that that's the case, and if you don't think that that's true, listen, leave a comment below and let me know. Tell me what storylines that you think are the most prominent, and tell me what past storylines. Actually, no, that's not true, because there have been a lot of past storylines that have been like super compelling. So never mind. That's an easy question to answer. So never mind. But yeah, if you think that there are storylines that are out there right now that are, that are incredibly compelling, then please feel free to let me know. Other than that, folks, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. As always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.